Alrighty. Hello and welcome to the Australian Institute of International Affairs. My name is James Atkinson. I'm joined here today by a very special guest, Professor Samina Yasmeen of the University of Western Australia. Professor Yasmeen is a professor in political science and international relations and is also the director of the Muslim Centre for States and Society as well. Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure.
We're here today from the AIIA's conference on women and violent extremism. So we'll be talking, elaborating on a lot of discussions that have been coming up today. The first question I wanted to kind of talk to you about was, we're hearing a lot in mainstream media and academia about a lot of the factors that are driving young men to joining a lot of extremist groups. And I guess I was wondering if you think a lot of those factors are similar for women, and if not, what some of the more like push and pull factors for what young women are?
Okay, first of all, I'm not very keen on this distinction between push and pull factors.
Yeah, sure,
so
okay. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I hope you don't mind if I don't use that.
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
I think in terms of the factors that can get young people, whether girls or boys or men or young women, there's a whole lot of them. There's poverty. Traditionally, that's what it was considered to be significant and considered to be more part of the intergenerational exclusionary process where people felt that they were not able to participate in the community properly, and so they felt alienated, excluded, and so it made them look for some way of validating themselves. So that was seen as one reason why young men mostly participated in militant activities. And then, of course, gradually people have realized that it's not just simply economic factors that push someone into this space. It's also how you look at knowledge, and in case of Muslims, your knowledge about your religion and your Islamic identity. So what we have seen in the last sort of 15, 20 years, a greater dissemination of knowledge through different media, where young people are given an idea of what it means to be a Muslim. So there are lots of different informations that are available, but some are very nicely marketed that tell these people that what they know of Islam is actually not the correct version. There's a better and more authentic version that really requires them to give up everything and reshape their personalities. It's a re-socialization process that through religious knowledge is being encouraged among the young people. It's not limited just to Western liberal societies. You see a similar process in the Muslim majority states as well. But since we're talking about Western liberal societies, it's been happening quite a lot. And so in that process, if the base knowledge about what does it mean to be a Muslim, or the base knowledge about the flexibility of interpretations in the religion is limited, then the capacity of a person who feels alienated, could be very well educated and employed, but feels alienated, the capacity of that person to be taken in by this new set of authentic information increases. It doesn't necessarily mean that they go into violent extremist actions, but the tendency is definitely increased. Now, is that any different, say, in case of women as opposed to men? I think the only difference that I can see is that, again, mostly in Western liberal societies, when young women of different ethnic background, second, third generation, they face more of the family, their community societal pressure than maybe boys. And so from their point of view, therefore, the kind of factors that push them into getting away from it is the need for, what I was talking about, the need to feel significant, or need to feel valued. And how do they think they can be valued? Is by doing something that everyone tells them they're not capable of doing, which is to be really militant in some ways, or the need to step out of the family control and assert their independence.
How long this re-socialization process, is that, I imagine it's not normally like a overnight kind of thing. How long does that usually take to, I guess, reframe the mind and that kind of thing?
I wouldn't know, because I think it's, see, again, the problem is that with terrorism or counter-terrorism studies, we really know when someone has in fact committed the act or the criminal act. And then we look back and say, when could we see there were signs emerging?
But
the problem is, maybe the signs were there, but in a different way, and we didn't know about that.
Okay.
So the process isn't as short as we'd like to think.
Yeah.
But then again, it isn't as long, because on this I'm drawing on my sort of research in Pakistan. There have been cases where people suddenly turned into very Islamic,
Okay.
and then that created the space for them to start supporting militant activities.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say that it's a quick process or a long drawn
Yeah,
process.
okay.
But I would say that the context in which it happens gets prepared long time ago.
Yeah, of course.
Alienation, sense of disempowerment, a sense of being caught between the 2 or 3 worlds, depending upon where you are, and then the information comes in. But even the way people process that information, at what stage they decide, okay, this is good enough for me to go and become actively involved in a conflict, is very hard to predict.
Yeah, I guess shifting slightly, you wrote an article for the Conversation where you kind of refuted a few of the theories about, I guess, radicalisation through the internet, and said it's not. I guess there's this perception that that's how it happens and that's it. Would you like to expand on that? Like what in? Yeah, what?
Okay. Exactly what I'd said before,
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think I've said it in that piece as well, that we give too much power to internet.
Yeah.
If internet communicated information and that information was acted upon as the sole source of information, then all these online courses would have absolutely shifted the way people
Yeah, absolutely.
think about issues.
Yeah.
The reality is it doesn't happen. So it's not that internet is irrelevant, but excessive significance being attached to that, I think, is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because people have to feel certain way that when they look at this information, that they can connect to it. Either they're looking for an answer, or they're unhappy and they come across this and it seems to offer an answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the context or the groundwork has to be done elsewhere. And again, you might come across some information on the internet, but I think what we have found, and again that came through even in the case of Paris bombing of November last year, that those who got radicalized, they were not necessarily just using the internet, it was face-to-face group connection.
Yeah, you talked about today that you're, like, I guess the face-to-face is more, like, not valuable, but like more...
It's significant because I think you can see some information on the internet and you can be taken in by that, but unless there's that human connection, face-to-face, some social network in which you are placed and you get answers, where you know that no one can track you down, I think they play a role. And again, there's family connections that people have. You tell your brother or you tell your sister, and then she'll tell the cousin. That doesn't necessarily require internet. So I think my concern, the reason why I wrote that piece, was that there's too much talk coming out in terms of the online radicalization. And if we focus so much on that, then we run the risk of ignoring the context in which it becomes one of the venues or the avenues through which people can get radicalized.
Why do you think it is that we do focus so, like, almost exclusively on the internet? Is it?
I think it looks like a fad.
Okay.
Because I'm not very good at internet. I don't really, I don't even know how to run my Facebook page properly. But I do know that it's being recognized increasingly as the way of quick sharing of information.
Yeah, sure.
And so in that sense, I think people think because people are sharing information, then that's really where everything is happening.
I guess with if there's such a concern with people who are growing up in Western cultures being radicalized and joining a lot of these, like, extremist groups, do you see how do you see that being like alleviated? Do you think, like, through policy, socially, like, what would be?
I think a combination, the policy of promoting inclusion of people, and not just simply young Muslims, because they are seen as the new problem in terms of radicalization, but people of all backgrounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Especially in a country like Australia, we're a multicultural society. We need to include everyone.
Yeah.
And that inclusion has to be real, not just simply stated.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because when you say, well, we're a multicultural, all-inclusive society, but when you say, hey, come over, we're going to go to the pub, you're already excluding somebody like me who drinks tea.
Yeah.
Okay, now, I'm happy in drinking tea in a pub, but there are lots of others who are not.
You're not, yeah.
So I think when we say we're an inclusive society, we need to provide all those ways of including people.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't mean giving up going to the pub. It means also finding other spaces where other people can get
Absolutely.
together. It's just an example.
Yeah.
But I think the leadership and the policymakers need to create spaces in which people at different age groups, not just simply young but even older, they interact with others.
Yeah.
And they interact
absolutely.
on the basis of respect.
Yeah, really interesting. Thank you so much for joining us today. We might
Pleasure.
wrap up there.